everyone, I'm Jitendra Singh. I welcome you to Read My Story, where I interview authors, speakers, coaches, celebrities, entrepreneurs, and more. Today, I have with me Mr. Dazil Fernandez. He is the founder and principal of Success Enablers, a new age HR consulting firm. He partnered with organizations in addressing their talent learning and development initiatives. Leadership skills building is a niche offering of the firm, and Dazil has coached over 2,000 team members and senior leaders so far. Dazil is armed with over 20 years of corporate experience, corporate leadership experience across IT, ITES, FMCG, and manufacturing. He is an Erickson Certified Coach, Certified Assessor by Thomas International, Alphastars Certified NLP practitioner, and has been certified with 7 Habits and Situational Leadership-II facilitator. He specializes in leadership competency building and believes that leaders can be made a huge difference in organizational and people effectiveness. Today, he will be discussing with us about his life journey. So let us hear from him. Welcome, Dazil. The platform is open, and now over to you.
Thank you, Jitendra, for that rather very detailed and exciting introduction. It's been quite some time that I heard of an introduction of myself of that. So thank you very much, and I'm really happy to be interacting with you and quite excited to see the kind of good work you're doing of talking to people, of experts in various fields. And I'm very sure that this is going to be beneficial to a lot of people out there, and glad to interact with the audience as well.
Thank you for appreciation and pleasure to have you here. So first thing I'd like to know from you is how did your past life has affected the person who you wanted to be in your life and what you are?
Well, my past life, if I should say that, it was a very interesting experience. I would like to just touch upon my past life in terms of my past professional life. Where I spent close to 2 decades working in various organizations. I realized it's important that we build a capability to adapt ourselves to various situations. And through my experience, I've noticed that people who were quite good at the skills or the subject that they were focusing on, people who were excellent at their jobs sometimes struggle, or most of the times find it difficult to grow because they were unable to adapt to the environment, and very importantly, it was due to the lack of leadership. So when I saw a lot of scenarios, it gave me a lot of learning, and through my experience with the various leaders, I realized that it's important for us to build and develop good leadership in organizations. And today I'm here in my present life trying to help people and organizations understand the importance of why leadership skills can be a critical defining factor.
Wonderful. So you are working on the right target audience, because these are the people who are the backbone of the organization, because they are running the organization. And
Absolutely.
If they are good on their abilities, the organization would do wonders.
Absolutely, you're right.
So if I talk about the things you are passionate about in your life, what are those?
Oh, well, I'm passionate about acquiring knowledge. I believe that to be able to do a good job, to be able to support people in my capability, it's important for me to go about understanding newer concepts, to go about questioning my own paradigms, to be able to sometimes question myself and probably prove myself wrong, and be open to learning newer things. I'm very passionate about that, so I don't limit myself to my subject. I try and read up and learn anything about science, politics, fiction, sports specifically, and why I do that is because I believe that when we keep learning, that's when we keep sharpening our brain.
Right.
And if we don't keep that happening, what happens is that somewhere our brain cells get stagnant and we will not be able to be effective individuals. So that is something that I'm very passionate about. I'm also very passionate about understanding, how children think. That's basically a motivation that came when I noticed my son newer skills as he started, growing up. So I spend a lot of time, love spending a lot of time, with him and understanding what he wants to do, how he thinks, what is his way of thinking. So this is something that I do, and I'm also passionate about traveling. Whenever I get a chance, I love to travel.
Wonderful. So if I talk about your passion for reading, I can see that your bookshelf behind you is full of all different kind of books, and
absolutely
that is really wonderful.
Absolutely. I try to pick up a book whenever I travel, even if I'm going for a short trip for a program, and if I'm in the airport, I try to use that time to read up. Maybe I might not have read or finished all the books that are right out there, but I can assure you I keep going back to them whenever there is a need.
Right. That is wonderful. So if I talk about your work and experiences, like how you started your professional journey, what all you did so far, and how you started, how you got into the entrepreneurial journey as well.
Definitely. I will share a very small story that happened in a very initial stage of my career, and then fast track into what happened before I can talk to you about my entrepreneurial journey. So primarily, I'm a IT professional. I am a qualified software engineer. I completed my full-time post-graduation in computer science from an institution which is more than 175 years old, and this is the same institution from where Dr. Abdul Kalam also had graduated. It's called St. Joseph's College in a place called Trichy. And after I completed my post-graduation, I got absorbed in an IT firm, and it so happened that in one of the projects I was asked to go and support our clients on a ERP deployment activity. So in simple terms, we were deploying a software for them, and my project manager asked me to go there at the client site and take care of all those things. So while I was learning the nuances of all these things, after about a couple of months, my project manager called me and said, "Hey, I've got some information from the client. I want to tell this to you. We are moving you out of the project." So I got a little hassled, and I was very disturbed, and I asked what happened. We got a feedback from the client that you are the one of the people, or you are the only person who trained them well of all the engineers who went to their site. But before me, many senior engineers and senior developers had gone over there, and they had really done a wonderful job. But somewhere the client liked the way I sat, and because the organization was in a situation wherein they were transferring from manual systems into automated systems.
Right.
So I had to sit with even a very senior purchase manager and teach him how to use the computer and how to use the software.
Correct.
And they gave a feedback that the way I train was quite nice, and they loved it. And my manager at that time gave me a very important feedback. He said, "Dazil, think about it. I think this is something that comes naturally to you. Okay, maybe you're a good engineer, but you will be a fantastic coach or a trainer. Think about it." And that is where that seed was sown. And then slowly I started thinking about it. My parents then gave me the freedom to do whatever I want, because they were happy that I found my foot on the ground. And then I, looked for opportunities to work in organizations wherein I could get into a department or a role which was to do with helping people or coaching and developing people. Right. So I was lucky enough to find roles in various organizations, specifically speaking, Bank of America in Hyderabad. I worked with them. I worked with their learning team, the learning and development team, and I had an opportunity to, impact quite a few people in the organization as a learning consultant while I was working with them. I worked with an Indian MNC also called Arvind Mills, where I was leading the corporate learning and development, and I was helping the organization, in terms of addressing their learning requirements. And these are just a couple of organizations. And my last stint was with a wonderful organization called Mars. Mars are the makers of chocolates. Okay. You might have had some Mars chocolates sometimes, right? Bounty, Mars, Twix. Yeah, and they also make animal food. So I spent about 5 years with them, in their, in the HR function, leading the HR activities for the India business. So these were a few organizations I worked. So from 2001 until 2017, I worked with a few organizations in the learning space in leadership development, talent development. And through all these experiences, there was something that was coming back to me time and again, which was one thing which I learned through my experience was, if we can build effective leaders, we can drive profits.
Correct.
we can build effective leaders, we can drive profits. So that's what happened. And then in 2017, I decided, why don't I step out and start impacting more people rather than just impacting one organization?
Correct.
So I spoke to a couple of my good friends. They said it's a good idea, but they said you're taking a risk. I said it's worth the risk, because if I can go and help a few people develop, that will be nice. So I started my own consulting firm called Success Enablers. And since then, I've been working with many organizations across the industry in supporting their talent development initiatives. And here I am today talking to you about how this all went. So that's how my journey has been so far. And presently, I consult as an HR consultant for organizations, not only in terms of doing learning programs, but also I provide strategic HR consulting for organizations in helping them set up the right HR infrastructure to manage their talent.
Wonderful. And your journey throughout was extremely an interesting one, because you started as a IT professional and ended up to a L&T
as an HR professional.
So that was really awesome. So if I talk about the most important life lessons you have learned throughout your journey from personal and professional life, so what are the things you would like to share with us?
The first thing I realized through my professional as well as my personal, and I think, that point that you mentioned about personal, I think we also get a lot of life lessons from our personal life as well, not only from professional. The first and the most important lesson, Jitendra, was the compass is more important than the clock, okay? And which means that the direction that we take is more important than the speed. I realized that there is a lot of focus on getting, everywhere of moving fast. People say go fast. If you go to organizations, people are saying, how will I have a faster growth? How will I get a faster growth? I've realized through my experiences and through my failures that whenever I just focus only on the speed and not focus on the direction, there are a lot of things that doesn't fall in place, whether it's to do with my personal life or my professional life. So in terms of, always stopping to think whether I am in the right direction, am I making the right decision? Is my direction right? That's the first lesson that I realized it's important for us, whether as personal or professional, in the personal or professional arena.
Right.
The second most important lesson that is helping me and something that I've learned is the characteristic to be very humble wherever we go. There is a tendency for us to showcase ourselves as on top of the world when we have successes, and it's very natural, but we also need to be sensitive to the fact that being humble is what makes us a good human being. Cool. Right? We all live in a society, we live in a community, right? And not all of us flourish together. I might be happy, touch with, God willing, all good health. But there could be a neighbor of mine who's actually going through maybe a lean patch. And, here I'm not supposed to be, going about tom-tomming about how happy I am, but I'm supposed to maintain my humility and possibly not rub people on the wrong side. So being humble is something that I realized is very important, and this will actually take us to the pinnacle of our careers. And I realized that this is the mantra towards getting people to love you. If you want people to love you, you must be humble.
Obviously.
Yes.
That is the basic thing you have to have.
Absolutely. And the third most important thing I've also learned is come what may, at the end of the day, find a reason to smile. Because, we could, encounter obstacles, we could encounter failures, we could encounter a bad situation, but every day is a new day. And if we can get into the habit of starting a day with a smile, it can create a huge difference, whatever it might be. A smile has the ability to cure diseases. A smile has the ability to make a positive impact on people. A smile can actually make me really feel good about myself. So these are what the lessons that are driving me.
That is really wonderful. Whatever you have mentioned is basic thing. If we start following these, it may create huge impact. Basic but true to its nature, that may create impact, and huge impact. Not only an impact, but huge impact. Not only you, but around people around you.
Absolutely.
That will also get impacted. So wonderful. If I talk about your vision, mission, and goal in your life for next 5 to 10 years from now, what do you think that should be?
My mission is to empower people with skills which will help them have a sustainable career in whatever work they do. in whatever area they are. That's my vision, and that's my mission. Sorry, and my vision is to impact 5,000 people by the end of 2025. 5,000 would mean personally to have created some specific impact on somebody, some small needle movement in at least 5,000 people by 2025, and that's what's driving me.
That is so wonderful. Now moving on to the most important thing, which I was curious to ask you. Like, we are seeing a great boom in the Indian startup ecosystem, and on the other hand, we are seeing that the failing ratio is also very high. So how do these entrepreneurs work on their leadership and other skills so that they can make their organization more successful or more valuable?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question, Jitendra. I think this is something that we should be discussing very often at this point in time, because India is at the cusp of a situation wherein we are flourishing in terms of one of the biggest startup ecosystems in the world, and 3 in 10 children or 3 in 10 youngsters today are saying that they would like to do something on their own rather than take up a job. So from my experience, there are quite a few critical things that startups should be focusing at. But let me just talk about one particular feature. I had the opportunity to work with certain startup accelerator initiatives in Hyderabad and in few other parts of India, wherein I was involved in hand-holding them in terms of building certain behavioral capabilities to succeed. I realized, when I interacted with a few of the startups who were struggling or probably were in the downward spiral, I had realized that they were too focused on the short term. They were too focused on the short term in terms of wanting to make quick revenue or quick bucks. Right. And what they actually missed on is about demonstrating the right leadership skills. So what is this leadership skill that I'm talking about? I realized a lot of startup leaders failed to help their people understand the objective of the business, the purpose of the business, and this is something every leader should do. Startups generally start small. They start with 1 or 2 people, or sometimes even with just one person, the founder and just one person. Right. And while the founders have done a wonderful job in setting up the business, they have failed to communicate the purpose and the end objective of the business to the people working in that unit. True. So when leaders fail to communicate this, people really don't have a solid reason as to why they're doing that. We really can't expect them to put their 100%. And I've also noticed from a leadership standpoint, leaders have also have they need to have this openness to understand that everybody thinks differently. No, everybody doesn't think like me. They need to be open to diversity. They need to understand that people think and people work very differently, and to be able to respect that. And those startups whom I've interacted with, who have had these leadership capabilities in them, I've seen them flourish in the right direction. And again, I'm saying in the right direction, not very fast.
Taking feedback of your team member is equally important, because
Absolutely.
You are expert in certain things. They are also expert in certain things.
Absolutely. Everybody comes with certain unique skills, right? Nobody comes with repetitive skills, and we should be open to the fact that people come with unique skills, and if we can respect that, I think that's the key. I think startups should focus on this. Yeah, of course, on the technical side, on the functional side, there must be something they must be doing. I may not be a functional expert in all businesses, but I believe that these such leadership capabilities are very critical, and these two are something that I've noticed is actually becoming a thorn in the flesh for many people.
Correct. If leadership role is the organization's backbone, as we already know it, so if they are channelizing their abilities to the best of the abilities in terms of communicating with people, understanding their requirements, and also communicating in a way that your objective and their objective could be merged together, so that will help them grow far.
Absolutely. I think in in all walks of life, even as parents, sometimes we need to, communicate to our children the purpose as to why they are going to school. If parents can help children understand the purpose and the end objective why children go into school, or the purpose and objective why they need to involve in sports, they will do that very effectively. And this is something leaders need to do. If we don't communicate that to people, people will not know why they're doing what they're doing.
Right.
So at the end of the day, that's critical.
Exactly. That is really important. So how these entrepreneurs should plan and strategize for hiring also. Hiring is the major issue. Organizations are failing onto it. So how they can find a right fit at a right cost for a sustainable growth.
Right. This is a question that I asked one of my bosses when I was working in an organization earlier, and then I found this to be so true. What kind of people should be, leaders hire, especially in a startup ecosystem, or for that matter in any organization in today's situation. And I believe, Jitendra, that today, in the kind of environment, in the kind of ecosystem we are in, when we hire people, we need to look for people who have an entrepreneurial spirit in them.
Right.
Okay. We need to look for people who can come in and run the business as if it's their own business.
True.
Right? The reason is because it's only an entrepreneur who will put up with failures. And I'm not saying it's only an entrepreneur, but an entrepreneur will put up with failures as part and parcel of his overall thing, rather than getting demotivated. When it's my business, when I think that this is my business, it's my own organization, I will do anything possible under the sun to make it succeed. And if organizations and leaders can look for talent who have an entrepreneurial spirit. Now you can ask me, Dazil, do everybody come with 100% entrepreneurial skills? No, they don't. But when you do your interviewing, when you do your scanning, when you do your shortlisting, you can definitely talk and identify those people who have that entrepreneurial spark in them, who have ownership, who can take decisions effectively, and who are not too dependent, who can stay on their feet and deliver. Those are the kind of people we need today.
Right. And if we talk about the organization which is currently on their standpoint, they are already working and they have existence, so they have legacy also, so they have a chance to do permutation and combination. They have chance to study if the candidate is good or bad for them. They can take the chance of hiring a person. So but for a startup, that chance is so minuscule that you either have a benefit or you might fail of hiring wrong talent there.
Correct.
So for them, this is kind of a situation, do or die. So hire a good people, or else you may suffer or as a organizational failure.
Well said, Jiten.
You are not well versed with the resources, and also you are very new and you are trying to explore markets. So that situation is really tough. So you have to be 100% foolproof with the hiring.
Absolutely. I think if organizations tend to look for too much of qualifications and existing skills and forget the behavioral part, which is the entrepreneurial spirit, they might miss out on the whole game. Skills can be built over time, but if the entrepreneurial spark is something that will be there innate in people. So I think the prioritization should be to look for people who have that entrepreneurial skill, and then let them come in and develop their capabilities.
Correct. As well as you should have both a talent, experience,
of course,
as well as the entrepreneurial skill in the.
Which is the defining factor. Right.
So you have to have all these three things, and combination of this will definitely do wonders.
Absolutely.
So that's great. Now moving back to you again. If I talk about you, are you an introvert or an extrovert kind of a person while facing your audience? And what are the pluses and minuses of the same?
I think I'm a mix of both, and I believe we need to be a mix of both. Not because for the ease of answering this question in this interview, but that's how I look at it. We need to be introverts because it's critical for us to be good learners. I mean, to be a good learner, you need to be an introvert. You need to have the ability to kind of look inward, the ability to stay a little more, dormant, and not get too carried away by what's happening out there, and not to get action oriented. Because having that will help us learn. Having that will help us understand the gaps that we have as professionals, and being extrovert also at times is very important because that's critical to building relationships. Now tell me, what is that, most of the roles that we play either at home or at work, it succeeds when we are able to build good relationships, and we need to be extroverts, which means that we need to be open to communicate what we have in our heart and our mind.
Right.
We need to also have the ability to mingle and adapt to various situations, for which being an extrovert is very critical. So I try to inculcate qualities depending upon what is of importance at the moment. I don't limit myself to being one. I started off being an introvert when I was in my college days, but as I started working and I started building more relationships, I realized that it's not bad to be an introvert, but it's also not good to be an introvert always. We need to have a mix of both.
Correct. Depending on situation and depending on the environment you are in, you have to adapt to the right approach. It's basically approach, how you interact with people and or how you interact with yourself either.
Absolutely.
Right, wonderful. So if I talk about the kind of support you got in your journey, you have mentioned some of the things already, but I still like to know and understand what kind of support you got and who are the people supported you the most.
I've got a lot of support from firstly from my family members, because your loved ones are can play a huge role in the decisions you make. I'm very conscious about the fact that not everybody has that option of being supported by their family members, but if you get that support, nothing like that. So I had a lot of support from my family members who gave me the freedom to experiment and take risks, because generally what happens is that parents generally want children to be settled financially as soon as possible, and they don't want them to take too many risks, out of their own love. Correct. But my family, my siblings and my parents, they gave me the freedom. So I think that quality of giving me the freedom and the flexibility gave me the courage to go out and take risks. And that is something that I also noticed in terms of the leaders with whom I worked with in organizations. I worked with some fantastic leaders when I was working with a few organizations, and I realized one thing, that all the good leaders who did a great job was that they gave me the freedom to think the way I want to think, rather than imposing their thought process. So some good leaders that I worked with, I had the I can also relate to some teachers who were there in my college who also believed in this, that we need to exercise our freedom to think, and I can't name one leader or one professor, but what I would say is that this is one quality that all these people had demonstrated consistently throughout my life, that actually made me who I am today, is to give me the freedom to do things and the freedom to think what I wanted to do. And when we have that freedom, we can really work magic.
Wonderful. And the quality which you have just mentioned about leaders is one of the finest qualities leaders could have, because that is the thing, help their team members to develop. And also leaders also on the back end, they also got the opportunity to see how their team is working and how they are taking charge and how they are getting onto a higher level, maybe on a leadership level. So this is really important on their part. They should give the opportunity and give the flexibility to their team members so that they can think freely, they can act freely and take action decision wherever possible. So that will be a kind of a role which leaders should develop in themselves and their team members as well.
Absolutely, well said. And that's something that I keep reiterating whenever I do skill capability building programs. And one of the most important frequent questions that comes to me is that how do we do that?
Correct.
People ask, leaders ask. So I tell them that the only key to doing that is to communicate with your teams, communicate with your people. Communicate means just don't talk, but speak to them constantly, understand who they are as a person, and then be able and give them that opportunity to be themselves. So that's something that it's good to do.
Correct. That is really wonderful. So moving on to the next one, if I talk about the kind of motivation and inspiration in your life, how you get your motivation and inspiration from?
As I mentioned earlier, I read a lot of books. I watch videos. I watch programs like the one you're doing. I get a lot of inspiration from the kind of interviews that you have conducted so far. I also for quite some time I've been following the teachings of Stephen Covey, the author of the book The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I've found immense support from the principles that Stephen Covey had put forth in terms of how we need to be focusing on effectiveness and just not efficiency in all aspects of our life. So I keep following blogs that are written by his institute, and I'm a keen observer of not only great personalities, but I also believe that sometimes we can also learn from very simple personalities. Even a maid who comes to your house, their behavior can teach you. It's not necessary that I always need to learn from a big management guru. I observe the accuracy and the speed and the dedication with which people do very menial jobs. When I travel, I look at vendors, I look at the way they behave, I look at the way they sit and sell. I see qualities and I learn. We always don't need a mentor to be sitting by our side. You can have you can have a virtual mentor who's not even connected, known to you, who's sitting a few thousand miles, provided we are able to look at them with a different lens. So that's my way of learning. Books definitely help, but observing people and their behaviors is what gives me a lot of learning, and that's what actually keeps me up to date with human capability development.
Excellent. So if I talk about your take on success, what do you think it should be? Like how you feel or see success as?
I strongly feel that success has to be preceded by a good amount of failure. Right. Any success that comes without failure is not a sustainable success, or not some success that is to be cherished for. Right. Any success that comes with preceded by some amount of failure, or if I can say with some amount of tough learning, that is something which will be really, really good for whoever it might be. The other side of the coin in terms of success that I look at is success is not something that we need to be looking at from an individual perspective. We need to be looking at success as a collective feature, which means that if I always look at individually succeeding, that's not the right thing. I need to be looking at succeeding collectively. If I have to give you an example, 10 years from now, I don't want to say that I've been a successful HR consultant. I will say that only when I feel, people have really been positively impacted by my programs, only when people have really conceded to that, and only when I make an impact which is an ongoing feature, that is success for me. Right. Success for me is not what I do. Success for me is how people are impacted from my actions. Correct. So that's the other side of success. The first thing is success has to be preceded by failure. I'm not saying it has to be failure all the time, but if it's preceded by failure, it is going to be a grounded success. It is going to be a humble success. Right. The other side of success is collective success. We need to look success as collectively. In any relationship for that matter, happiness has to be collective. It's not individualistic. Same goes in organizations. If people want to succeed, they need to see how they can make the other person succeed. If they can do that, that is success.
Right. And that is really a wonderful thought. Like helping others to succeed is the greatest achievement, I would say.
Absolutely. And that's why I've called my firm as Success Enablers.
Right.
When I was trying to name my firm, what should we name my firm? Should we call it as, Dazil Consulting or, professional consulting? Right. We said, all that is good, but what is the purpose of my setting up this firm is to enable people succeed. Right. And if I can make that happen, that's why I did this for. So that's how this thing grew up. This thing called Success Enablers. Yeah.
Correct. That is the broader concept. That is the broader vision.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So we are moving on to the last question. Any message, advice you would like to share with our viewers and listeners?
Well, yes. In terms of message, I would definitely tell them is that all of us need to realize and acknowledge the fact that we have a leader in us. Irrespective of whether we lead teams or we lead organizations, leadership is a essential human quality.
Right.
It comes in handy in all aspects of life. Leadership manifests in different ways. It manifests in the form of compassion. It manifests in the form of support. It manifests in the form of emotional intelligence.
Right.
And when you have this, most part of your life will be set or taken care of. So we need to understand and acknowledge the fact that all of us are leaders, and we need to build leadership skills wherever and whatever we do.
Correct. You have summarized leadership in a brief form, and you have mentioned everything related to leadership in a small paragraph. So that is so wonderful and really important to understand. And everyone who is at leadership role, for them it is really important. But people who are aspiring to be a leader, for them also it is really important to build on their abilities, build on their skills, and have a thoughtful mind of a leader.
Absolutely, yes. That part that you said about having the thoughtful mind of a leader is very critical. All of us need to have that. So yeah, definitely.
Wonderful. So what an amazing insights you have shared with all of us today. It was really amazing to hear from you, Dazil. I was really enjoying the conversation, and I was not willing to stop it here today. Actually, I wanted to have more conversation on to the topic, which is again my favorite, because understanding leadership and building on leadership skills is really the need of an hour, and it is required by everyone. So I really want to learn more onto it, and I would definitely be doing it. So looking forward.
I feel during this discussion, I think the other good thing is, Jitendra, is also you provoked me in the right direction. Your questions were provocative; they were in the right direction. I think that's the beauty of all discussions is, somewhere the provocation has to be in line. So I think equal credit goes to you for having provoked me. Thank you very much for making this discussion really, really interesting. I really loved these last few minutes.
Sure. Thank you so much for the time you have spared for us. And looking forward to hear more from you soon, again, maybe on different topic, maybe on same one.
Yeah.
And we would be exploring more things further onto the same topic as well. So looking forward to that. Thank you so much, Dazil, for your time. It was really wonderful having you here.
Thank you very much for inviting me over to this platform, and I must acknowledge you've been doing a fabulous job. These discussions are not only good for us, but also for the viewers, people to learn, and I think I congratulate you for having taken up this initiative. So a fantastic job, Jitendra. Wish you all the very best.
Thank you so much. I will also share your social media and website links so that people can be in touch with you, take your help, guidance, and attend your programs as well, so that they can build on their skills onto leadership and other aspects of the business.
Fantastic.
So that will be really helpful for them. So guys, don't forget to check that out too. Thank you so very much everyone for watching and listening. I hope you all must have gathered a lot of information and enjoyed watching it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a good time. Thank you, and bye-bye.
Bye. Take care.